Do you want to go public?
That's a good question. My pause is, look, today, sitting here, Gary Gensler is the chair of the United States SEC. I'm not really popular inside the offices of the SEC, as you might imagine.
Well, the NYSE president was in that chair yesterday, and she said that she welcomed applicants from the crypto ecosystem, IPO markets heating back up.
Lynn Martin, I think, is a progressive example of where we should be. That's not where Gary Gensler is. And so the SEC has to approve an S1. Going public in the United States for Ripple right now, I don't think makes any sense. I think Coinbase, as a public company in the United States, probably regrets that decision. We've looked at, would we consider going public outside the United States? That, of course, is in the possibilities. Right now, it's just not on our immediate term agenda.
Hey, everybody. It's Eddie from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan. And that was, of course, the Ripple CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, in an interview uploaded to the CNBC website about 10 hours ago. So don't expect an IPO as long as the SEC is not considered friendly waters. Now, let's hear why Ripple is getting into the stablecoin business. And it's going to be interesting for you to hear that there is a softer language around Tether, including how USDT is expected to grow and do well. Have a listen.
Tether, USDC, other players, why now?
Well, look, I think if you look at where the market is going, well, you're right, it's somewhere between $150 and $200 billion today. I think forecasts are that it's going to be somewhere around $2 trillion to $3 trillion. So that's growth of 10 to 20x where it is today. So that in of itself is those are fun markets to be in, that they're growing quickly. The second is, I think there's likely to be some shifts in market share. Today, Tether is by far the dominant. The US government, for better or for worse, we can debate, but the US government has kind of expressed concerns about Tether and how it operates outside of the United States, representing a US dollar. And I think the US government has taken the position, well, if you're representing a US dollar, you need to be regulated by the United States. That isn't the case today, and I think there may be some shifts in how that market share. But look, overall, I think Tether will continue to grow. I think USDC will continue to grow, but I think there's a lot of room as that market grows for a Ripple-backed stablecoin.
And what does this mean for XRP? Do the two work in tandem, or does the stablecoin supplant XRP's utility?
Look, we are 100% behind the growth and development of the XRP ledger and the health of that market and that ecosystem. We think having a stablecoin built on the XRP ledger actually adds liquidity to the XRP ledger. We already have been using stablecoins in our payment flows. So this is just kind of a natural extension. We'll continue to absolutely prioritize XRP, but there's times and places where our customers want to see US dollar to US dollar using a Ripple stablecoin. We think makes sense in those flows.
Moving right along, do you have any guess what you're looking at? Notice the code pointing to First Ledger and a currency code of XNS. That was Arthur Brito's code when he created the 100 billion XRP, which was then called XNS, on June 2nd, 2012. So that is the birth date of XRP. Happy birthday, XRP. And from the Flare camp, we have an announcement of an announcement, even though they say they're not fans of announcements. But F Assets is something special, and there are some updates coming next week. It's pretty exciting. And I don't understand this new narrative. If you are an XRP community member and you talk about another token, now you're part of an anti-XRP army? What in the world is that? This space has some real geniuses. When it comes to F Assets, the FXRP, bring it on. You can be sure that I'll be talking about Flare for a very long time. This is an ecosystem that has XRP, Doge, Bitcoin, and more to follow that are integrated into this F Assets, which is being developed by Flare Labs. It unlocks asset value. You earn rewards in a trustless environment. This is all about bringing utility to non-smart contract tokens. EasyA app, which is promoting the XRP ledger, also had a hackathon at Consensus 2024. And there were some interesting builds to come out of that, including the smart contract sidechain built on Bitcoin by Rootstock. One of the reasons why I love this space is the innovation. And there's going to be a lot of innovation talk in a space that's going to happen on June 6th. It's starting at 3 p.m. Central Eastern Standard Time. Vet and I are going to be hosting, and look at the lineup. Marco, the CTO from Futureverse, Shen, who is starting a new NFT platform, a recent grant winner. It's called Tradeverse. Then there'll be Pleb, a developer from Ripple, Faram Prat, who is the CEO of Peersist. That is the sidechain that is going to be so instrumental in being able to connect the XRP ledger to the EVM world, particularly the Cosmos ecosystem, and Scott, which is with Moai Finance. This is going to be some space. And speaking of Vet, he and I have a little something up our sleeves. And if you want to connect the dots, have a watch at the CoinDesk PitchFest finals in the Consensus 2024 lineup of videos. Yes, this is something that, let's just say it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't want you to miss either that the XDC team is in action all over the world. The XDC Trade Network, which promotes the digitization of trade documents and the provision of innovative trade finance solutions, will be demonstrating its groundbreaking solutions at the UN Regional Commission. That will be presented by Sunil Senapati. I talk about this because this is directly related to what the SBI XDC APAC group is working on here in Japan. These efforts cross over from different ecosystems to bring synergy and more value, and at the end of the day, it brings adoption. At the time of this recording, Bitcoin is just over 69,000, and all eyes are always on Bitcoin because it's the catalyst for the next bull run. And the last episode of the All In podcast on Friday, they had an episode section on Bitcoin, and it's really worth sharing. I'm going to let that clip take you out. So until next time, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.
So why is this interesting? So here's a little Bitcoin price analysis for you guys. So there's been a couple of halving cycles that have happened. And I asked him to go back and look at the price performance 1 month after a halving, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and 18 months after a halving. And what you notice is that there are these moments initially where essentially when you go through a Bitcoin halving, people are sort of reassessing what's happening and they're trying to figure it out. That's sort of what I would say happens in the first month and roughly what also happens in the first 3 months. But then within 6 months to a year and 18 months of these things, there are these crazy price appreciation cycles that happen. So that's what this page shows, which is, 18 months after the first halving, the Bitcoin price returned 45x. After the second halving, it returned almost 28x. And after this third halving, it returned almost an 8x, which is really incredible returns in such a short period of time. If you go to the next page. And so if you graph that, this is what it starts to show, which is what is this price performance after each of these halving cycles. Now, why is that interesting? Well, it's interesting because on top of this halving, which theoretically, if history is a guide, we should see some price appreciation. Obviously, the other thing that's happened is we've commercialized Bitcoin. And we talked about this sort of as my big prediction for 2024, which is these ETFs are really going to allow Bitcoin to cross the chasm and have its sort of central key moment, right? And so if you apply the averages, and again, these are just averages, they're by no means predictions. Okay, so I just want to qualify that.
Yeah,
These are
this
just
is not financial advice.
It's not financial advice. These are just guesses.
Data.
we took these and we applied it to the price of Bitcoin. And if you go to the next page, you start to see what could happen if you just take the average of the last few cycles. So because the first cycle was so extreme, and you start to
so you're just doing cycle 2 and 3 here, to be clear.
Just the averages of cycle 2 and 3, and what you start to see is some really meaningful appreciation. And when I talked to Wences about this, how he explained it, which makes a lot of sense to me, is there are a lot of countries that will never look at Bitcoin credibly, even if they support it. The US may be one of those, but there's an increasing body of countries that will become dual currency. And they will look at their local currency, and then they will look at Bitcoin. And they will say both of these two things are needed. One, when you're transacting on a daily basis for random goods and services. And two, when you need to buy a permanent asset that needs to have residual value, you'll use something like BTC. And I think that's a very powerful concept. And if you look at what this price chart could indicate, is that if this thing starts to get to these levels of appreciation, it is going to completely replace gold and start to become something that has transactional utility for hard assets. And I think if you marry that with this worry that some folks have about dollar debasement, you start to see some really interesting opportunities. So I just thought that this was a interesting thing that here's our disclaimer, interesting thing that he put me on. I thought I'd share that with you. I'll publish this on Twitter, but that's your crypto corner for the year, folks.
I think it's really interesting how the crypto community is getting organized into basically a lobby to advocate for its interests, because
it's the biggest lobby in America. Did you know that? Yeah,
they've been so targeted over the last few years because Gensler and Warren have been on a crusade to basically make crypto illegal or drive it offshore. Well, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And now the crypto people have basically had a political awakening and realized they have to get involved in the political system just as a matter of defense, self-defense.
Shout out SBF. He was a pioneer.
Well, not like that. I mean, that guy. No,
he was dropping money on everybody. Yeah.
Did you guys hear this? Did you hear this rumor that
he was doing that to basically push for regulatory capture? Remember?
Yeah, I think it's a nuanced point.
Did you guys hear this rumor? Did you guys hear this rumor that SBF was going to put $1 billion into the election and convince Tom Brady to run as a Republican?
And give the billion to Trump.
Oh, sorry, give the $1 billion to Trump.
He was going to give Trump $1 billion to not run.
Okay.
And then get Tom Brady to run. I mean, this person had delusions of grandeur. He thought he was a Jedi Knight, and he's like literally in Jabba's palace right now. I don't know what a lunatic he was.